we fought a revolution to stop this. So this is our daily take today. Now the oligarchs want their throne back. The author of the Declaration of Independence, you know, that guy, went to great lengths on numerous occasions. I wrote a book about this to point out that when he and his colleagues started the United States of America, they were explicitly rejecting, in favor of an early form of democracy, the men, and they were all men back then, who drove the three historic tyrannies: kings, theocrats, and oligarchs. Autocrats, popes, and the morbidly rich, basically. For 2,000 years, before Jefferson and Washington and Hamilton and Paine and Adams and Revere and their colleagues created a checks and balances system of Republican democracy, every country in the world was ruled by one of those three: by a king, a pope, or a theocrat, or the rich. And today, of the 167 countries on earth, only 74 are democracies and only 24 are full democracies. And now, because of the Republican Party, America stands on the verge of losing that status. Theocrats have seized control of our Supreme Court, gutting the rights of women and religious, racial, and gender minorities. Members of the House and Senate are so terrified of the oligarchs funding primary challenges against them that it's been over 40 years since any major legislation has passed fulfilling the wishes of the majority of Americans. And on top of that, now we're hearing reports that many Republicans are explicitly telling reporters on the QT, you know, don't quote me, but telling reporters that they are worried about physical violence against themselves and their families from the people that Trump let out of prison if they vote against Trump. I mean, that's wild. And our White House today, you know, that's your king, right? And those are your oligarchs. And our White House today is occupied by a billionaire who believes himself to be a king, or appears to, you know. Trump's attack on our democracy is an old story. It's played out repeatedly in various countries by every generation in the past two centuries, and it follows an absolute playbook. There are four aspects, what would you call them, departments, systems of governance, at least in our form of Republican democracy, and that's small r Republican. Democracy within a republic, as conservatives love to cite. And those four things are the legislative, Article 1 of the Constitution, the executive, the president, Article 2 of the Constitution, the judiciary, Article 3 of the Constitution, and the press, the First Amendment to the Constitution. Four branches, essentially. And while Democrats have been, over the last 50 years, have been focusing their efforts on, electoral politics, on seizing control of the legislative and the executive branches, the right-wing billionaires who wanted to take over America and now appear to have succeeded, or are very close to having succeeded, they focused their efforts where they didn't have to win elections, other than occasionally, where really they could just do it with money. And that is corrupting the judiciary and seizing control of the press, building their own press systems, 1,500 right-wing radio stations, 3 right-wing television stations, Fox so-called news, Twitter and Facebook, tilting hard to the right. And that, by the way, is a pattern. In other words, first take down the press and seize the judiciary. Then you can attack the elected branches all you want. I mean, all you need to do is get elected to the executive branch, and then you can just basically castrate the legislative branch. This is exactly what Viktor Orban did in Hungary. This is exactly what Vladimir Putin did in Russia. It is what Hugo Chavez did in Venezuela. It's what Alexander Vučić did in Serbia. It's what Robert Fico did in Slovakia, excuse me. And now, same, you had Mitch McConnell steal 2 Supreme Court seats and give them to Donald Trump. And so and you've got this huge, billion-dollar funded massive machine to indoctrinate and move, right-wingers, fans of oligarchy into our court system. And you have this huge right-wing media machine. They've launched now, and now Trump is trying to, really nail this stuff down. He's launching lawsuits against CBS, ABC, NBC. Robert Carr, Brendan Carr, I believe his name is, the head of the Federal Communications Commission, has announced that he's going to he is launching an investigation into NPR and public broadcasting, PBS, into them for breaking the law by accepting commercials. I mean, if they can take down NPR and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, if they can take them down or just intimidate them, you've already got, the Los Angeles Times and the Washington Post on your side. You've got the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, the Fox News, all the right-wing media that I just described. You've got all that on your side. And they can cause all of the major national media, the three big television networks and CNN and MSNBC and everybody else, to basically freak out and shut up under threat of lawsuit, then they can continue. Now, the good news here is that there are two countries that have seen their democracies under attack by oligarchs and wannabe kings who have reclaimed their democracy. The first was Poland. And the reason why is because 70% of the independent media in Poland stayed independent, even after Duda took over and, President Duda, and started attacking the media. And because they had an independent media in the elections in 2023, they went back to democracy. Poland did. The other country is South Korea. And again, President Yoon had not succeeded in nailing down the media first. And that's why he's sitting in a jail cell right now rather than being the dictator of South Korea, which was his goal. So here we are. Jefferson was right. Without a free press, you can't have a functioning democracy. And Republicans, and Trump in particular, are doing everything they can to intimidate our press, to seize our press, to bring our independent press under control. And I'm telling you, this is the independent press right here. It's all over Substack. It's all over Free Speech TV. It's on the Progressive channel here on Sirius XM. It's on radio stations all across the country. We're small, but we're mighty, right? We still have an independent press in the United States. And as long as we do, we still may be able to lay claim to a democracy and recover our democracy. So your assignment, should you decide to accept it, Mr. Phelps, is to support independent media, to support NPR, to push back on these attempts by the Trump administration to destroy independent media in the United States, and to back our press.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We're going to start exporting prisoners to El Salvador? Really? I'll tell you about that right after the break. Stay with us.